Hi, everyone. I have chosen my topic this week to be about constructivism, which is a learning theory that posits that the learner needs to take an active role in their learning, and that the teacher becomes less of a lecturer and more of a facilitator of learning. So it is the student's job to construct their learning, construct their knowledge from their world, their experiences in it, and their interpretation of what happens. And this does not mean that the teacher never directly teaches something to a student. It just means that they have a little bit more of a hands off approach and they allow the students to kind of come to their own conclusions on things through scenarios, problem based learning, and curiosity. So, let me come back to that problem based learning real quick, which is something I spent a couple weeks this summer learning about. It's the idea that instead of giving the students every tool they need to solve a problem, you should just give them a problem and let them figure out what questions should they be asking and what tools should they need to solve it. I read a really great article by Georgia Delore that expands problem based learning, which typically you think of more so in a math and science field, which I teach math, so that's why I think of it first. But she has some great examples of how important it is to include the arts in that problem based learning, and even give some examples of social science and historical scenarios that also can be used in problem based learning, which can really rope in those students who are not as big a fan of math and science but do love English or social studies. The strengths of constructivism is that, one, if your students are curious about something and want to learn something, they are so much more likely to absorb it, to ask more questions, and to understand how it applies to multiple scenarios. Um, a weakness of constructivism, however, is that it does require you to create this environment in your classroom that learning is an ongoing process, and that failure is okay, and that can be very hard to do consistently. It also will take a lot of time to even construct these scenarios and problems where students are discovering things. And one thing teachers are always very short on is how much time they have to teach something. Um, how I would probably implement this in a distance education course, or how it could serve as foundation. I think already my class is somewhat based in constructivism and I didn't even realize it. And I do have a form of distance learning. I use a flipped classroom model for my classes. Um, but I think problem based learning, which is kind of an offshoot of constructivism, could definitely be used in distance education, where students are asked to approach a problem from multiple angles and apply all of their knowledge to it.